Don't stop.
You know, these are these things where, first of all, I was in a situation, we do what we call the dog and pony.
Right.
We're out doing the dog and pony selling a picture. And you get kind of, sometimes you get what you feel is slightly ambushed by somebody who's really got an agenda. And that's sort of, I think, that's my opinion of what happened to me the other day. The last thing I like to watch is entertainers or actors get political. It's just something I can't stand watching. So having said that, no, I was kind of asked to put it in context somehow with this movie. Mm-hmm. You know, my personal feeling is that there's a big difference between Fantasyland and reality. Fantasyland is what we do. You're either writing something, writing a song, writing a book, doing a movie, doing a television show. That's Fantasyland. Mm-hmm. And that's where that stuff belongs. In reality, when we're dealing with things like terrorism and whatnot, we're all going to have different opinions on how to do it and how to deal with it. Yeah. Mine happens to be that I think there's a very strong reason founding fathers had for the Second Amendment, and that is that no government ever hasn't had to fight its own people, and its own people hasn't had to fight its own government. We had our Civil War. If that Second Amendment hadn't been there, those people would not have had the opportunity to do what they considered was defending their life, their way, their style of living. So I agree with that. I think that's an important part of our existence, and it's basically that simple.
I think that people more object to the excesses of the Second Amendment, not the Second Amendment. It's the it's these
and that's where the debate comes in. I think it's too bad that the debate can't remain kind of civil too, and that's hard to do. It's one of those things that it's like I talked about. You know, sometimes talking about terrorism. Whatever we do, and we all have our opinion on that too. Whatever we do, we're a little late for the people who've died. And if you know somebody, or you know a child that was maimed in that situation, I got a strong feeling that one's opinion has a tendency to change that. Yeah. So I just leave it open for interpretation by all different people, and just say we're all in this together, and we're going to hear each other talk about it.
Is that the last time you're going to talk politics as an actor?
Till I'm asked to later, I'll be asked in an hour and a half about it. You know, once they trot that pony out there, I go let it go.
But you know what? If we have to be in it with somebody, I'm glad we're in it with you.
Mm-hmm. Love you, baby.
In the New York Times this morning, and the guy interviewed many people from the Midwest and from the West about San Bernardino. Mm-hmm. And the basic conclusion is that there's everybody out there has this feeling of anxiety about when's the next one.
No, I think so how you connect the dots for me?
I think that there's a feeling about shootings and violence that's different now in 2015 than it was in the mid-90s.
Oh, sure. It's not the 90s, and we're in 2015.
But Quentin's doing the same game, more or less.
Quentin does what he does, yeah. Quentin's, he's like painting a picture, he's like writing a story, or he's like a filmmaker. Right. No, I think that to mix and match reality with fantasy is something I don't understand, but that's just me. Yeah. I think that we should understand the difference. I think that, to mix today's politics with, for instance, in this case, a tale about, a fictional tale about just right after the Civil War.
I'm not talking about politics. I'm talking about ground level, water table, a feeling that's in people's bones that this New York Times piece was talking about. People are genuinely, between Paris and San Bernardino, there's this thing that sudden violence as a normal day-to-day aspect, coming from the gun culture, coming from everything else. It's a different vibe,
I don't understand the concepts of conversation of the gun culture. We've lived with guns since, the 7th century or something? I don't know.
We all know that right now, guns is a trope. It's it's not a trope, it's a totem, it's a metaphor that disenfranchised white guys need. It makes them feel good because they're being surrounded.
You can say what you want. I don't agree with that. So it's not my thing.
But it's statistically
you can look. If you think gun control or something like that is going to change a terrorist point of view, I think you're out of your mind. I think I think anybody is. I think it's absolutely insane. The problem we're having right now is that we don't have the concepts of how to turn it around and say, you may think you've got me worried about what you're going to do. Dude, you're about to find out what I'm going to do. And that's going to worry you a lot more. And that's what we need. That will change the concept of gun culture, as you call it, to something of reality, which is if I'm a hockey team and I got a guy bearing down on me as a goaltender, I'm not concerned about what he's going to do. I'm going to make him concerned about what I'm going to do.
I guess Obama's point was that the guys who are on the no-fly list because of terrorist connections, can get a gun pretty easily.
They can also make a bomb pretty easily.
Yeah.
So what? They can also get knives and stab you. What are you going to do about that? They can get cars and run you over with them. What are you going to do about that? What are you going to do about that?
They didn't kill the people in San Bernardino.
Oh, but they've killed others that way. Haven't they? Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah. So what are you going to do? Outlaw everything? That isn't the answer.
Just put some controls.
Put some controls. What? So the people who want to defend themselves can't?
No, not so you can't. Just so the idiots can't get a hold of them. That's
Do
all.
you really believe they're not going to? Are you serious about that?
Yeah,
Are you seriously? What good will that? Oh my God! You and I just disagree.
Okay.
You and I just disagree. I understand that you think that you can control the behavior of people that are dead set on taking your way of life away from you. I think you can control that.
No, I didn't say
and
that.
there's only one thing you can do with that, and that's say, no, dude, that's not going to happen. That's just not
We're
going to
going to
happen.
speak with you, man.
Good talking with you. Good luck with your art.
Second Amendment, gun control. You've been on the NRA's board since '95, and this is a subject that you maybe feel more strongly about than any other.
I believe that
Make your case.
I believe that a person's moral compass can be determined by how he references free men the right to defend themselves. The Second Amendment is so obvious to me, it's insane that there's an argument. God gave, let's pretend there is no document. Let's pretend brave families didn't leave the tyrants and the slave drivers of Europe so that they could practice the religion of their choice, so that they could speak out without being murdered, that they could produce wool without the king's men coming and taking it from them every season of harvest. Let's pretend none of that happened. Let's just pretend this guy named Ted Nugent parachuted onto Earth and woke up one morning and saw these wonderful resources and had dreams of excellence and being the best that I could be. I don't need a document, and I don't need another man to explain to me that I have the right to defend my gift of life. And that there is an argument in America from Hillary Clinton, from Barbara Boxer, Dianne Feinstein, from a whole gaggle of numbnuts who would try to tell me they will dictate where, how, and if I can defend myself. I find that preposterous. I find it unacceptable, and I will not accept it. I am a free man. Don't tread on me. A good, law-abiding citizen, not convicted of a felon. The Second Amendment of our Bill of Rights is my concealed weapons permit. Period.
That's it.
That's it.
So no limitations of any kind that you
No.
can see.
None.
That's it.
The limitation should be, instead of arresting people for molesting children 24 times, I would rather the dad walked into the room, found a person molesting that child, and blew his brains out. I would rather that the lady in Massachusetts last month who was taking her daughter to soccer, who was carjacked by a recidivistic maggot who'd been in the prison system all his life but was let out again because we feel sorry for him. Maybe he had a bad childhood. Instead of her being hijacked and murdered, I'd rather she just shot the bastard dead. But in Massachusetts, somebody decided she can't do that. So she's dead. I would rather she was alive and the carjacker was dead. I'm weird. I would rather that the guy who beat this lady to within an inch of her life in Waco, on parole was he, phenomenal, and beat her to within an inch of her life in front of her grandchildren with a whiskey bottle. I would rather she fell to the ground, pulled out a .38, and shot him 6 times in the chest and killed him. Am I weird? Because the guy is going to get out again. I don't like repeat offenders. I like dead offenders.
Sorry.
least yours doesn't play Call Me Maybe.
Yeah,
like
exactly. Sorry about that. He had an Illinois firearm ID card and a concealed carry license in that state. And in Virginia, the gun laws are very, very lax. They're very, very loose. But law enforcement officers will tell you when there's more than one person that has a gun, it makes the situation more dangerous for them because they don't know who the bad guys are.
But you know what?
So more guns is not the answer.
Because I live in New York State, I just want to say this one thing because it's personal, really. Yeah. Because I live in New York State and there are tight gun laws here. I take the subway, I take the bus, I walk around freely. If I was living in one of these states, open carry or whatever they are, I would never do public transportation. I'd be afraid that some guy in the subway would have a fit, just go mad, upset about somebody took his seat or somebody's mansplaining or what have you, and shoot somebody else.
Well,
because it's easy to do.
I feel we follow the lead of other countries. I mean, if you look at Japan, there is almost no gun violence. In fact, it's like the chance of being killed by a gun are just the same as chances in the United States of being struck by lightning. It's like 1 in a million.
They don't have a Second Amendment.
They don't have a Second Amendment.
Right. I feel very differently about that, though. When I go to states like Arizona, when I go to states like Texas, I'm not worried about law-abiding citizens carrying guns. They don't make me nervous. I feel much more comfortable knowing that if something happens, you have law-abiding citizens that have gone through background checks but have been trained.
Have you been around people with guns?
All the time. No, I have. I have been around a lot of people.
Have you been around with afraid people with guns?
I have, and a lot of these people
I don't believe you, Jan. I don't believe you. Because when somebody shoots a gun...
I'm a conservative. They're very pro-guns, pro-Second Amendment group.
Listen,
no,
I have no problem.
I'm not a gun girl, but I have a lot of
I am saying to you that when people start shooting, people tend to run. If other people have guns, it makes it very hard for the police to know who to shoot.
And they're more likely to hurt themselves.
Who to shoot, because every civilian's got a gun at.
But the problem is, if the Capitol Police weren't there, and the Capitol Police were only there because Scalise is there and he's the House Majority Whip, if they had not shown up, there would have been a massacre there.
But that's their job. That's their training.
But if you live in a society where only the police have guns, that's called a police state. That is not the United States of America.
Not called the police.
That is not the United States.
I don't know. That is not. Listen, the Second Amendment. Let's talk about the Second Amendment then.
Please.
Okay, because the Second Amendment is about a militia. That's what it says.
But that was at the time that it was written.
That's right.
It's the right to bear arms, to protect yourself and your family.
Not to protect yourself and your family. That's not what the Second Amendment